What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. As always, I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And we just want to start off by saying Merry Christmas to you. If you're listening to this on Christmas Day, you're a beast. We love the commitment, and I'm sure a lot of you are listening to this just after. But nonetheless, I love that you're still making time to learn about how you can improve, optimize, maximize, and be inspired by your fitness, health, and happiness this season. So thank you so much for tuning in with us today. It really does mean a lot. And I think even before we get into our quotes, me and Kyle always go through a huge conundrum at this time of year. And we're like, should we upload it? Less people will be listening. Is it worth it? And then we're like, you know what? We're going to upload for those people that do listen, those people that are separating themselves this season, that are still finding ways to just work on their self-development. So shout out to you for listening to this episode. You are a real one. And we're going to make sure this episode is a banger. And we have so much to look forward to in the new year. But for now, let's just take it away with a killer episode. And as always, we like to start it off with a quote. I'm going to start with mine because I think it's very short but very powerful. And this is from a book I read called As a Man Thinketh. And this Thursday, actually, I'm going to be releasing an episode about 10 of the biggest lessons I've learned from reading 52 books in 1 year. And there is a lot of knowledge to be had in that episode. So make sure you set a reminder for Thursday to tune into that episode because it is going to be a killer. But my quote from this book is, "Man is made or unmade by himself." And I love this quote because we're, as you know, really big into personal responsibility and ownership. And a concept, usually it's so easy to look at why things slipped and just blame everyone else, blame traffic, blame bad genetics, whatever it may be. But the truth is we can either make ourselves or we can break ourselves by our decisions, our habits, our goals, our aspirations. And this quote was just so simple but so punchy to me. And I just love that idea of saying, how can I make myself better? How can I improve? How can I grow? How can I limit vices, especially as we're beginning this reflection from the previous year and we're looking ahead to the new year. This quote really just stood out to me when I was gathering the notes for the upcoming episode on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually read that book. I just recently downloaded on Kindle, so that's on my to read list. And
oldie but a goodie. I definitely recommend it. It's very short, very powerful, and even sorry to interrupt, Kyle, but one thing I'm going to make a goal to do this year is to reread some of the books that were really impactful and powerful and to try to gather even more from them. I think reading As a Man Thinketh, and it works just the same, men, women, same component, and it works just as well with other books like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. There's some books that are just such great quality and so jam-packed with info, and I'll talk about my favorite books more on Thursday, but even the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, there's just so much wisdom and knowledge and big think in there. I'm so excited to revisit some of these in more detail, really take notes, and never be scared to reread a book. I've mentioned this before, but even in this challenge, I've reread some books that were impactful to me 5 years or 10 years ago, and I've seen them in a whole new light. And it's the same with exercises. When we program, usually we'll be in our sphere of movements, we'll get better at them, and we'll neglect some older things we did. And then we'll get back and revisit them, become better with them, and really learn them and feel different contractions, be at a different place of strength. And there's a lot to be had from going over something. Even old episodes of this podcast, like we mentioned before, if you're struggling with something, search Fit, Healthy, Happy XYZ if you're curious about creatine, Fit, Healthy, Happy creatine, Fit, Healthy, Happy weight loss. We have so much great content and we definitely recommend revisiting it. We're going to continue to make great new content, but that really kind of brought that to mind.
Yeah, and honestly, I've just been feeling so fired up lately, and I would definitely contribute. Obviously, with it being colder and darker, it has been a challenge, but I've been really supplementing with so much knowledge and growth, and any given moment during the day, I've just been trying to get as much as I can. And Josh gave me a ton of great audiobooks, and when I wake up in the morning, I've been reading 15 to 20 minutes, nothing crazy, but as it's a bit darker and I don't want to start my walk yet, I've just been reading a growth book for our business. And then, the audiobooks and then podcasts, and then, every Wednesday and most mornings, motivational things. And as I reflect on that, and in terms of just how I feel, I always feel the most fired up, the most inspired, the greatest when I'm constantly consuming. And there's been times in the year, times in my life where I'm just not doing as much of it. I'm kind of I'll watch some videos that aren't related to growth, and you don't feel as pumped up. And I think sometimes people don't realize you need to keep adding wood to the fire to keep the fuel going, versus just being oh, I've listened to this book, now I'm good for the rest of the year. And that's not how it works. So that's my thought there. But I was listening to a video this morning. It's 3 hours of motivation. And honestly, I only got like 20 something minutes in. I was just like pausing, writing things. And it was just inspiring. I absolutely loved it from what I saw so far. The first thing that I had got from it, and I think it's very applicable for a day like today or tomorrow, whenever you're listening, just around Christmas times, the holidays, lots of reflecting, is every day that you wake up, remember that somebody else didn't. You are alive for a reason. And I just think it's so important to pay attention to that and just be grateful for every day that we wake up, every opportunity that we have. Obviously there's always these times where we can focus on the negatives, the downsides, and everything like that. And I just wake up each day and I always write down the 3 things I'm grateful for. But one of those things I don't write down as often as I should is just the ability to wake up with an able, healthy body, great people around me, and just to be breathing, right? And I think it's something sometimes we may take for granted. I know it is a little bit deeper, but that's something that just does really inspire me and I think about quite often. So that's going to be my quote for this week.
Yeah, I think that perspective, appreciation of being able to wake up, being able-bodied, and like even when you see someone who's going through a lot more than you, just having that reflection really does begin the day from a position of optimism. And that's why we're big on starting the day with some form of gratitude. And even Kyle's habit of reading a bit each morning was a habit I used to get through some harder books. I would just tackle 10 to 15 minutes in the morning. And I think it's a great way to wake up your mind, especially if you do want to push that walk a little bit. I think it is amazing practice. And even sometimes like on a more lazy Sunday morning, I'll start by just having like a big reading session or something like that. And like Kyle said, that is the fuel to the fire. That is going to get you inspired. You're going to hear from people that have done big things. They're going to make it be more consumable to you to get out and do those big things, so you can feel that energy, that excitement towards the journey ahead. So I think that was incredibly well said. And I guess as we transition over into our thoughts here, my big one obviously was just getting this podcast out, really just making that mindset to say, I'm going to be consistent with this, and even just having that attitude everywhere in life by just saying, I'm going to take my nutrition seriously, I'm going to take my fitness seriously, I'm going to take my commitment seriously. Like, it's just amazing how when you create these rules and these codes for yourself and you live by them, how much easier it makes it. Whereas if we're always missing, you never know when stuff's coming out. I mean, a good example of that is YouTube. Like YouTube, we've had times where we were killer with it, and we've had times where we backed off, and obviously we put a lot of our energy here too. But for your life, the more you can make habits and consistent routines around your actions, the better it can be. And as we get into our new year, we're running a challenge here where we're going to actually create a 21-day challenge to help people level up, to do more, to operate at a higher level of intensity and action, and then to normalize that after 3 weeks so that this can become a habit, and you can kind of have this be a big stepping stone from where you were previously to the next step in your journey, so you can continue to see more results. And I just want to say, anyone who's listening to this on Christmas or in and around Christmas, we have a special deal going on for you. DM us Christmas to Instagram. We'll know who you are. We'll know you're a real one. And this is your chance to get your guaranteed transformation done. Me and Kyle, as your coaches, will be there to really do everything for you, to give you a bespoke approach to fitness, nutrition, and accountability. So a custom routine that's going to help you get better results faster, a nutritional plan that's going to get you towards your goals while you still enjoy your favorite meals, and most importantly, where you learn how to eat for the long term, so you don't only get short results here and now, but you see them for the rest of your life. And then of course, the constant accountability, support, and motivation you will get from your coach. We're going to get you 5 times the results you normally get, or your money back, so you have nothing to miss out on. You have the challenge coming out. You have no reason not to do this. And if you don't do this, you're putting off your own success, which you deserve, and we want to help you with it. So if you're looking to get started with this, and I know you are because you want to see the best results possible, especially into 2024, DM us Christmas for a special last chance discounted rate, as prices are going up into the new year, to get into our coaching, to join our challenge, to be eligible for $5,000 of prizes in that challenge. Like, this is the perfect time. So I really want to stress, don't miss out on this. DM us Christmas to our Instagram at ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT.
Awesome. Yeah, we can't wait to help you. I'm so fired up going into this year, and it's just going to be absolutely incredible to start the year off strong. And one thought that I had was just the concept of never missing. So backstory was someone recently was just, we were sitting down getting some things done just at the gym, just in the little cafeteria area. And a fellow had come up and said, hey, you filming podcast today? Because he knows we have a podcast. And we're just like, oh no, we're planning it. We're filming tomorrow. And essentially he was asking like how much we upload, all that stuff. And I essentially just said like 2 times a week every week. We never miss. And I sat down afterwards kind of reflecting on the concept of never missing. And I think that's such an important thing because we have kind of built up this thing in terms of just like our consistent habits and priorities that like we never miss on. And the gym for me is one of those things. Cardio is one of those things, the podcast. And I think a lot of times like I used to take different things like I guess less seriously, like even workouts on, let's say on a Tuesday, when I wasn't meeting up with Josh here and there, I'd be like, oh, I'll try to squeeze it in. It wouldn't matter as much, or a Saturday or something like that. And I've just created such a priority, and it's just like at the top of my list, like no matter what happens, it's getting done. Like I'm not missing. And I do love the concept of just like never miss twice. And that is a good idea, especially when your nutrition's, maybe kind of a little bit out of whack through the holidays and whatnot. And that is also a good thing to think about as well. But I really like just the concept of like never missing, like making a priority, even for us, whatever is our priority, we get done. So obviously the podcast, YouTube isn't exactly a priority. We'll upload randomly here and there, and that's totally okay. There's going to be some things where it's like, this has got to get done. I'm never going to miss it 100%, no matter what the day is, whatever the situation is, it's going to happen. And when you take that level of conviction and that level of discipline towards your goals and whatever it is you're striving, it's honestly amazing what you can accomplish. So we never miss. We don't plan on it. We're also humans at the same time, but that's my mindset, and it will get the job done for sure.
Yeah, and even as we go into the challenge, like to our personal journeys, like Kyle said, we've just been going above and beyond. We've been training harder than ever, nailing the nutrition, really working on the self-care and the rest, and we're really looking forward to pushing that into 2024 because it's easy to rest on our laurels and be like, we're in great shape, we look good, but we've just been really excited about the process. And I really just think there's something special about seeing what you're truly capable of and knowing you gave it your all. And even today, Kyle said he can feel the new muscle on him. He's just feeling bigger, better, and really pumped up for the new year. And once again, the challenge is going to be such a great mechanism for that. Tomorrow, I'm actually going for my 405 bench. So wish me luck there. That'll be on Instagram. So if you're listening to us on Christmas, next day I'll post it, whether I get it or not. Let's see what happens. But I've been training hard, so I'm really pumped to give that a try. Kyle might even be hitting 315. We'll see. It should be a really fun day. So if you're not following us on Instagram, you're missing out on a lot of great stuff. Always posting value there. And once again, our Instagram is Colossus Fit. We'll also include a link for that at the top of this episode. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into a client who has been crushing it, an amazing transformation that really just demonstrates the importance of getting in coaching, seeing what you're capable of achieving. And this is actually one of Kyle's clients, so I'm going to let him take it away.
Yeah, so Yong came in essentially saying, hey, I've got a vacation coming up. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's drastic, and I'm just wanting to look my absolute best. So on Instagram every Monday, no matter what, we share that transformation. We share a testimonial video that we just say, hey, just share your experience. We don't give them a script or anything, as well as their top tips, because we feel like those three things can help you guys as well, in terms of just knowing what our experience is like in the coaching, as well as those things that they applied to their journey. You can also apply to your journey because, hey, you're probably in the same spot in some way or another, right? So absolutely incredible. It's amazing to see. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also see the transformation photos along with some top tips. And I just want to say I'm super proud to see this amazing transformation. Like, honestly, anybody can achieve it. You just really have to put your mind to it, and you just also have to commit. And that's one of the biggest things about Yong, was he fully committed, right? If you kind of come in, half out, which we're going to be talking about later for question 2, it's going to be very challenging. So amazing stuff there, with a plan, with accountability, and with the right mindset. Those three things, personally speaking, I do believe are like the most important. And let's keep crushing it. And hopefully that inspires you in one way or another.
All right, let's jump into the mailbox, and we got some incredible questions as always. And a lot of people say, how can I submit a question? Go ahead, follow us on Instagram, DM us there. We'd love to connect with you. Any questions, anything we can even help you with in general, we're happy to answer there. But if you have a question, anything related to self-development, fitness, health, happiness, we would love to answer it, because if you're thinking it, chances are other people will as well, and we'll help more people together by you asking. So make sure to hit us up on Instagram. But the first question we have for this week is, I find that I dread using the cardio machines at the gym, and also often run out of time after my strength training is done. What are your thoughts on this and how to work around my problem? And this is from Sarah.
So this is a really good question. And, a little backstory. I have a friend who is obsessed with using the cardio machine, like before lifting. And I had to say, hey, dude, like, I know your priorities. I know where you're at. let's do the strength training, and you can figure out the cardio afterwards and do different things. We often get active, through just different types. We're going snowboarding soon. Like, he does a good amount of cardio through that stuff. So one thing that I really want you to focus on above all is when you go into the gym, that's your place where you're going to be able to overload. It's where you have the most amount of amazing equipment, strength training wise. Most people, even at home, you just don't really have much. I'd say the average person will have a couple dumbbells and stuff. So you want to make sure that you're making the most out of the gym with the stuff that you can't get anywhere else, right? So that's why when I go into the gym, I'm there to strength train. I'm there to overload. I'm there to spend my entire time just absolutely crushing that workout. And one thing I will say is I actually don't do any cardio afterwards, even if I'm on a plane where I need to do a lot of cardio. One thing that has resonated really well with a lot of my clients, as I've suggested it, is actually just separating it within the day. So instead of having to dread going to the gym for an hour 15 of strength training, then 45 plus minutes of cardio, which you can do, of course, it is really hard for a lot of people to just get their head around that, is to kind of break it up within the day. So for me, I like my morning walk. I walk my dogs, let's say 20, 30 minutes. And then also just strength training is going to come, a couple hours after that. And then I love doing something later on in the day that's active, whether that's a walk, or I usually do try to do something active with friends, whether that's, volleyball when it's nice out. And, soon we're going to be going snowboarding. Like I said, there's a lot of different options. And I do believe that you can just split it up so much, I guess, nicer, where you don't feel like you're spending as much time in the gym. And I think a lot of times people just think that they have to be doing the elliptical, they have to do the treadmill there. And of course it's good when you're in there, but it's not a necessity like some people think.
110%. And even for me, I really try to leave my time in the gym for being in the gym, to do strength training, weight training, and it's so easy to get divided. Even one of our close buddies, he's been making a habit of doing cardio before his strength training and then really optimizing a 15 to 20 minute sauna. And I'm just a big believer in what are you going to get the most benefit out of? So a 15 to 20 minute sauna, that's awesome. You're breathing, you get a good sweat out. It's perhaps good for blood pressure, heart rate down the road, these different things. But the effect you'll get from being in the sauna is minuscule as opposed to really spending the time doing your strength training. Even as I've read books on longevity, the studies that have been out, strength training changes your composition, it changes your muscular health, it builds your bone density, your joint strength, all these amazing things that will just make you better and feel better, look better, all these great things. And it really should be a priority, especially to me when you're going to the gym. Cardio can be made fun, and we've always had a shtick of make cardio fun because we love going snowboarding, paddleball, volleyball, hiking, walking. There's just so many better ways to do it, in my opinion, than just being on a machine. I know some people love machines at home, and the one thing I will say is I really enjoy, on a day where I just haven't moved much, just going to my treadmill downstairs and watching YouTube videos or watching a movie or something. It's a fun way to go about it. So at home, I think it's more worth it. But at the gym, if you have less time for cardio, there's other ways to do it. And you can go on a walk with a friend. Cardio activities can oftentimes be social. There's a lot more opportunity there, as Kyle laid out in his own schedule. And that's where I wouldn't feel too bad if you're not doing your cardio right after the workout, especially if you are spending a longer time lifting. We lift for about 80 minutes right now. So to me, even the cardio will just make me dread it. It'll kind of compromise the quality of both things I do. And to the question of should you do cardio or lifting first, you should always do what your priority is. So if you want to be a marathoner, you should do cardio first and then strength training after, because marathoning is your primary goal. But for most people who have aesthetic goals, who just want to look really good, see muscular change, be strong, and really just have a great body, definitely lift first and then do your cardio. And even the mindset around cardio is, well, I do cardio so I lose fat. But that's not really how it works. To eat a pizza back, you essentially would have to run an entire marathon. You'd burn about that many calories for a large pizza with a dip, for reference. So with cardio, it's a trap, because even if you do 20 hard minutes and then you go get a bagel, you're offsetting that because it's just a burn that can be replaced by intake. Whereas lifting will change that composition, it will build your muscle, it will change your shape, your bone density, all these great things as I've mentioned. And that's where you should put more stock into the strength training.
Yeah, and so Josh said obviously we're doing about 80 minutes of the strength training, so we'll really push it there, and that's a good 80 minutes. I'm very happy to say there's really no fall off there. In the past I would experience that. So we've just been going hard there, and then usually 10 to 15 minutes sauna, just get ready. We obviously could have more time on a certain day, but it's just not, it's hard to kind of like get your head around like being like, oh, I'm going to be in the gym for hours on end, right? So that will kind of bring us into, an hour and a half ish. And then I'm ready to get out of there. And if we ever want to play pickleball, we're like, okay, we'll come back later in a couple hours or something like that. And even just like one other thing is, I find this is where people do struggle, is they just kind of, they'll make it this big thing where I have to do 15 minutes cardio beforehand to warm up, then a huge strength training session. But then I also do my cardio because I have it prescribed, but then I also have to stretch, and then there's the sauna there, and there's just a lot going on there. And we also want to just get the biggest bang for our buck. And even when it comes to stretching, like so many people will just spend their entire time there. And, I'd just rather you push it with strength training. Like there's nothing that says you have to be sitting there stretching for another 15 to 20 minutes afterwards. And then some people need to do a cool down. So there's just a lot to think about. That's why we always recommend strength training will give you your best bang for your buck. It'll change your composition like Josh said, and it should be the priority when you go into the gym. If you ever have an off day where you need to change it up, like it is a good place to be if you're like, hey, I want to do some mobility, I want to do some extra cardio, and like the environment's really good there. So that's why some people will do an extra day, but just something to think about, and hopefully that helps you guys in some way or another.
And now we'll jump into our second question here, which is, as I reflect back on this past year, I noticed I was only about 50% in. I'd do a couple of great weeks of work, then a couple of weeks off. Any suggestions or tips to set me up for success for this coming year? And this is from Joseph. And one thing I've even done, like this time of season to me is just, it's not motivating. It's really, really tough. Like it's so dark when you wake up. You don't want to spring out of bed. You don't see the sun there. You're not going out to walk with the sun and the warmth, especially depending on where you live. Everyone's kind of taking it easy, taking it slow. Everyone's baking all these really good, delicious Christmas treats, and it just makes you kind of just want to chill, not do anything too crazy, and it can be a little bit tough. So for me, like more and more, I've just been defaulting onto my habits. So really doing the things I know that put me in a good position. So even though it's hard, getting out, doing that morning walk, listening to that audiobook, doing my morning journaling, gratitude, getting in the gym, eating really healthy, tracking my food, getting to bed on time, like just doing these activities that make it easier for me. And you might say, okay, well, how does this help me? Like I've had good weeks and bad weeks, but like Kyle said, like to me, this is also adding kindling and wood to that fire, because when you have these things that you just do that build you up, that make you feel great, it makes it way easier to stay on track. Because as we know, a lot of people are all in or all out, and especially with the attitude of where it's great, then it's bad. Oftentimes it's because you'll go astray in one area. Maybe you'll be away and you'll have a bad week of eating, and that'll lead to you not training for a bit because you feel you don't look good, and then you'll keep eating bad, and then you'll get motivated, get back in there. But the truth is, even like when you can't control your circumstance, you just need to get creative and find ways to do what you need to do to really move the needle forward, to make sure at least each day is a little win. Another great rule I recommend for people that struggle with being hot and cold is a never miss twice rule. So if you have a bad day of eating, don't let there be a second day. The next day needs to be a good day of eating. If you miss a workout, you can't miss one the next day. And this is amazing because inevitably, there will be days where you miss that aren't perfect, that could be better. But when you have this attitude, even for me, I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't get my steps yesterday. No, I didn't get 10K steps. Today, that's not going to happen. I'm getting after it. I'm getting it done. And these little rules can just make it easier, and they can kind of just be grounding principles to help you push forward. Other things we do for our clients, we have a very detailed spreadsheet. We obviously check in them, give them accountability. So having accountability is a big part of this. But those are kind of my top tips, and I'm really curious to see what Kyle has.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Joseph definitely would be a great fit for this challenge. Like, our biggest thing for these first 21 days are building up the habits, creating a sustainable approach to help set you up for success for the rest of the year. And that's where I think so many people struggle, even just start thinking of the start of the year, is they just start to do these drastic changes that they're just not used to. They'll kind of become very ambitious, which I love being ambitious, but it just doesn't fit your lifestyle and what you're used to. So when you feel that pressure and when it gets tough, it's easy to fall off. And even for us, like having that accountability is so game changing. Having that person to say, hey, I know it's going to be a tougher week this week. Here's what we're going to do to make those changes. Here's how we're going to make it fit your lifestyle. I know you're traveling this week. And I'd say within that, not being all or nothing is the biggest thing that I would recommend. And that's why I'd say a lot of times people will get to the end of the year and realize, hey, let's say maybe 24 weeks I was hot and I was doing everything well. The other, 30 something weeks I was just not on point. And it's just because when the time gets tough, you just don't really know what to do. You don't know how to navigate a vacation. You don't know how to navigate. And by the way, it's great to enjoy vacation, right? There's only a few of them here and there. But when so many things pop up, such as social gatherings, work events, birthday parties, all these other things, you have to be able to sit down and be like, okay, well, here's my situation. I'm still going to have fun, but I'm not going to let it turn into a 5-day I'm not doing anything type of thing. So not being all or nothing, setting reasonable parameters that will fit your lifestyle. If you're used to waking up at 8 a.m. and you start saying, I'm going for 4 a.m. because I'm ambitious and I'm pumped, there's a high chance you'll do it for a few days and it's just not going to stick. And that's why it needs to start to fit your lifestyle so much better. So that's my biggest thing. We're rooting for you, Joseph, and wishing you the best of luck for your journey this year. And I know you're going to crush it.
And we got one little bonus question for today, and that is, what would you tell your younger self if needed? And this is from Omar. I'm going to let Kyle take this one away because I'm going to have to think on this one.
Yeah, this one was great. Omar had asked this, and I actually haven't thought about it a ton. We weren't sure if we'd include it, keep it shorter, longer, but honestly, we love chatting with you guys, and I know that these things will help you guys so much. So I'm stalling right now, but I would just say, telling my younger self is just honestly, keep going and keep growing. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I'm so grateful that Josh had introduced me to an audiobook when we were 18 years old, I think it was. I remember taking the subway. We would take which is our transit system. I remember we pretty much would spend 4 hours a day plus just sitting there, and he introduced me to the compound effect by Darren Hardy, and then the 10x rule by Grant Cardone. And the truth is, had I not come across that and Josh shared that with me, I don't know if I ever would have learned these things, because it's just not as common, I feel for people to be talking about growth and mindset and all these great things. So I would just say get into that and run with it, apply it, start to just consistently have a growth mindset, just keep your head up and know that anything is possible. That's another thing I think past that, in terms of just being growth oriented, is just you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. And I have learned that, and luckily I learned it not too late. I know sometimes people will learn it later in life, but I just honestly think that if you say you're going to do something and you really put your best foot forward, you can accomplish literally anything. And I think sometimes it can sound cheesy and corny when you hear someone say set big goals, you can achieve them, you can whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. But I've seen it over and over again. I've seen it from these people as well that we learn from in terms of books, videos. We've listened to speakers and conferences and all this other stuff. And it's amazing to see how much people can accomplish when they just say, hey, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to not take no for an answer. So just a small thing there. And I'm sure Josh has something great as well.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add, actually. I think one perk for me is I've always kind of been an optimist, and I've always had an idea of where I wanted to go. And oftentimes I'll meet those milestones. Sometimes I won't, but I'll learn and grow along the way. So I guess I don't know what I would say to myself, truth be told, but to everyone else, I would definitely say be an optimist, have a plan, and don't be obsessed with the destination, but really enjoy the journey. And I'll be talking about this more on the Thursday upcoming episode. So definitely make sure to tune into that. Merry Christmas once again. We really appreciate you tuning in, and this episode was a great one. Thanks for spending some time with us today. If you want to give yourself the best gift ever, which is the gift of fitness, the gift of change, and just the gift of becoming your best self, you don't want it to be the end of your days and you just say, I could have done so much more, I could have gave more, I could have had more ability, more opportunity. And this is your chance to truly level up your fitness. We guarantee our results for a reason. We have over 3,500 transformations for a reason. So you have nothing to lose by coming and working with us one-on-one. We will get you to your destination and achieve your transformation. So message us the keyword Christmas for the last chance offer. These will be the lowest the rates will be because next year with demand, they are going up. So this is your chance to jump in and do this. Once again, the keyword is Christmas, and the first 3 people to do this are going to get even an extra bonus on top of it. So once again, Christmas to us on Instagram to @ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.